Magazine Monday, Magazine Monday, Magazine Monday. What are you reading today? Well, I'll tell you, little bit by little bit, you know, chiseling away at the pieces of getting things done. I had an extra hour last night to kind of spitball on the fertilizer plant. So I took it, ran with it, and turned into about 2 hours worth, which led to less sleep, but I'm okay with that. So, put a couple of refrigerated cars in here because you want to keep fertilizer semi-cold out of the sun. Don't want no explosions, bro. Look at that. Got the diorama looking cutesy wootsy. K-Train, KTRN. But we're getting back to our next phase in the series of the Conrail, the Final Years book, 92 to 97. And what are we on? Bup, bup, bup. GE road freight units. Let's take a quick look through this so you can see a list here. This is the numbers on the number boards. Boppity bippity boo. We've got 82, my lucky number, 87, 88, 91, 94, 95, 99, 100, and it just keeps going up and up. Let's look at, we got a B23-7. Love those, the R version. 36-7, got a little bit bigger radiator flares on that puppy. B40-8, one of my faves. Totes faves, Timmy. C30-7, those kind of look like U-boats. Anything that you see from the 30-7A and just the regular 7. C32 I actually like because it's this like Spartan cab. It's like a sad Spartan cab. And then even the 36-7, that's kind of a funky looking unit. Conrail had a lot of these very East Coast style units, and GE really played into the hands of what they wanted to do. This is actually one of my favorite units from Conrail. It's number 744. It is a Dash 8. You can see the class lights on it. You have just your bare bones. I love the overhead cab light. A lot of people don't like that. I mean, Norfolk Southern still does it, but they have this kind of cutout here. This one's just a nice smooth nose. You have the under the anti-climber ditch lights, and then your nice MU cable with your air hoses and all that fun stuff in between. Very basic looking unit. I do like the anti-glare on the hood right here, that black anti-glare. And yeah, they just really had a great look to them. Let's get in to the different stuff. So we'll start out with our nice little B23-7. You can see the old school trucks on them. These trucks always annoyed me. They almost looked almost like the unit had problems. Is everything okay with this unit? Yeah, everything's fine. Why do you ask? I don't know, man, because the wheelbase looks like it needs a little work. But yeah, really beautiful looking GE work there. They were always struggling to catch up. I like, we got a couple little things behind it I can't really see from this point of view, but a couple of GP road units, general purpose. But yeah, GE was really, they were trying to find their place back in the early 80s, mid to early 90s. But I mean, they really hit their stride when they started stepping into the Dash 8 market. And then from then on, it just took off, and now they lead the charge every day and every way, everywhere, Brother Bear. I like this low snowplow right here. Look at that. Not even a snowplow. It's more like, hi, man, there's a rock on the track. Get it out. Did you say rock, bro? Biddly-doo. When a lot of people model these units, you'll sometimes see that the handrails, the stanchions, the vertical stanchions for the handrails, even on on the plastic models, they'll kind of be bent in. And people are like, I got to fix that. I'm like, actually, you'd be surprised. These things would, they'd take a hit from a cow or a tree that had fallen, and they'd accidentally run into it, and they weren't really fixing these things as long as it did the job. So you'd get these kind of some of the vertical stanchions bent inwards, not along the side, of course, but in the front. So, kudos to you that don't mind that so much. Let's get into it. We got our B23-7 still. Let's go a little bit more futuristic. Anyways, these are also a B23-7, I believe, but it's the upgraded version. Don't quote me. I mean, we could read about this right here, but oh, there it is. Yeah, Super 7s. Okay, yeah. Look at that. New trucks. They kind of look like the GP40 trucks with enhanced braking and, air hoses and stuff like that. Really liked it, though, because they had the new dynamic braking vents as well as this kind of sloped radiator from the radiator up to the cab. You get this, nice little skateboard ramp, mate. Yeah, look at that. Trying to be all complicated when it's really not. Gotta love the B36-7s. Were just they had the nicer B trucks on them, which you would actually see on a lot of the later B39-8s, but on a lot of West Coast railroads too. A little bit built for a little bit more high speed, if you know what I mean. Getting things done. But I do like those B36-7s. The B units. So nice, so pretty. You could tell that little divot in the long hood would kind of pronounce the difference between the 23s. Here we go. Here we go. Nice B40-8. Now, this is an earlier design. You could see it's got a little bit more. There's a couple different. You could definitely tell the difference between the 40-8s, the early years, and then some of the West Coast Railroad ones, like the Southern Pacific ones and whatnot. But yeah, it's something where you just kind of notice it. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. It's not a big deal. But really just kind of very utilitarian-looking units. And if you take a good look at the side view, it was just, large and in charge, especially for being a quote-unquote equal to a general-purpose unit from EMD. So that's really nifty. You can see a couple of them right there hauling some grain or possibly potash or rock salt or anything that goes in these nice little hopper cars. And then these things look like the big U-boats, the C-30-7, which would almost be equivalent to a U-30 or U-33B, 33C, U-30C, U-33C, U-36C. But this is just kind of better electrical work and kind of going into the broad strokes of taking the next phase of General Electric and pushing it forward. And I'm just loving all this stuff. Mariscalco, thank you so much. John Mariscalco was so kind enough to gift this book to me. And it was supposed to be for my homeboy Evan. I think it still is, actually. Or I think we bought him one. Or maybe this is the one we were supposed to buy. I don't know. One way or the other. This is for Evan. And Evan. Oh, actually, this is. You know what? Now my memory is jogged. John, if you're watching this, bro, this is the book that is for Evan. And he's never taken it home. Every time he's come over here to shoot a Railroads Rock podcast, I'm like, take the book. He doesn't take the book. He'll take the book. We'll get him the book. Love it. Love this. As I said, these Spartan cabs being flush with the long hood was pretty cool, but a very unique unit, and I can't remember exactly what the designation is for this guy, but here, let's look at this. Does it say in here? Anyways, it's kind of a Dash 8 hodgepodge, and you could see it still has the Dash 8 body style, but they're on the flared radiator fans, you still have a vertical long hood. There's no blistering or cantilever of the grills. And then you would see this kind of had the trucks of what would be the Dash 840 CW or the Dash 840C, but it had this like lowered Spartan cab. I don't know why they did that. It wasn't flush with the long hood. Looked kind of unique. You could see these gray ghost versions of it. Very unique. Almost looked like an ugly warthog. Ugly pig. But apparently they did get the job done, and no complaints here, but go talk to a Conrail engineer of the day and age of that era, and maybe they have something else to say about it. But I've gone through the message boards, because believe it or not, people, I am slightly a nerd at times. I love this small divot in the long hood that gives it that, so you don't have to have the flare in the intake grills. But yeah, very unique looking unit. Excuse me, pardon me. In my humble opinion, incredibly ugly. But you know what wasn't as ugly? This one, because it had the bright eyes. I called this the bright eyes because they'd have these giant two big windows on the main cab looking forward, and they just kind of gave it a little bit more girth, a little bit more beauty. And yeah, so this is your Dash 840C, and now you can see the flared radiators with that kind of cantilever, you know, the grills stick out, and that's cool. Longer dynamic braking grill right there. For a better intake, it's not as tall, but definitely longer. Not as girthy, a little bit more skinaline, dinaline stuff. All right, let's continue on here as we get to our Dash 840 CW, which is now the famous wide cab, which you see on all GEs. I don't think I've seen one GE built after 92 that does not have this wide cab. And the desk controls, the desktop controls. So we're looking forward, we're powering forward, and we're moving long-haul freights. Gotta love it, gotta love it. All right, let's get into some other photos. I like it. Nobody's selling things. Here's all of your... Oh, here we go. Yeah, a couple colored photos of those, and then we'll lock this one up. I love it. Look at that. Conrail blue. Now, blue happened to be my favorite color, or happens to be my favorite color. So I will always venture to say I'm loving it, just like a Mickey D's. But yeah, man, look at that. I love the anti-glare on the front of that hood. Just makes it look a little bit more industrious, slightly more utilitarian. Obviously, there's no white face on these things. It was just a beautiful blue. I'd love to model some Conrail. I really would. Even though I'm not an East Coast railroader, there's just something about that Conrail blue that gives you such a beauty. I think that's it for this one. Yeah, now they're going to go into EMD and road switcher units. So next week on Magazine Monday, LMS, I love it. Leasing. Anyways, we'll get into that another time. But what are you reading today? Good stuff. Look at that. A little bit weathered, and then you got the repaint of the nice big can opener Conrail quality gone and replaced. This is the can opener. See, it looks like a little can opener. This is still there, but it's got the Q. And I don't know what you would call that paint scheme. If anybody knows, go ahead and comment. But next week, we're getting into... Oh, look at that. That's a Jeep 10. That looks cool. But Conrail, notorious for having some really cool, unique GP units. And there's one of them right there with that blower housing on the side. Incredible. All right, so that's what comes next week. But right now, we're staying with the GEs. Hope you had a wonderful time. Remember, the most important signal you get is going to be your next one. And we'll see you next week with the Magazine Monday. Also, the Pete Steinmetz interview has been flippity-flopping around because we keep getting hit with copyright infringement on some of the video I'm using. So I just have to delete that. But keep an eye open up for that on the podcast, and hopefully you'll be able to watch the full interview with Mr. Pete Steinmetz. I'm going up to his house soon to continue to interview him because he's just a rad dude, and him and I love rock and roll the same. And he was a DJ, and I'm a rock and roller. So let's rock. Oh, one more thing before I go. One last kiss before I go. Let's take a look at this tank train. And I don't mean carrying oil. Look at those tanks. This had to be right before 91 Gulf War. Transporting it. Look at this. Is that an ice central? I can't even see what that is. All right. Okay, I'm done. Everybody have an awesome day. Be well and rock and roll.